unprecedented event.
The storm in the Legislative Council was over this man, Graham Stoney, a spokesman for the mountain cattlemen who opposed the extension of the national park in Victoria's high country. During the Nunawading election, they backed the Liberals. Labor's attack on the cattlemen's role in the election prompted the opposition party to use their numbers to call Mr Stoney before the upper house to state his case and embarrass the government. Council President Rod Mackenzie faced a house bitter and divided over the issue. Government leader Evan Walker. It will establish a precedent which cannot be stopped. It will be all-out warfare. Attorney General Jim Kennan attacked the Liberal leader Alan Hunt. The Liberals have bulldozed this through. Hunt is a Mussolinian mufti. Alan Hunt retorted, Labor is trying to gag the House. The insults, interjections and points of order went on for 2 hours, but it was all for nothing. Mr Stoney had agreed to address the House at 11 o'clock, but in anticipation of his appearance, he'd given copies of his speech to the press. The Herald jumped the gun and said that Mr Stoney had already appeared when in fact he had not set foot in the chamber. More arguments, this time over parliamentary privilege, and eventually both sides agreed to adjourn the matter for 2 weeks.
We were quite prepared to reveal that the government were wrong in many things that they said about us and our members, and we weren't allowed to do that. I'm sorry we weren't, but perhaps we will next time.
The matter as it now stands means that Graham Stoney will appear before the Legislative Council on Tuesday week. But in the meantime, the government will argue that there's no need for this to happen, that the Liberals have made their point, and that if Graham Stoney does appear, it will be setting a parliamentary precedent. Colin Fulton, National 9 News.
And Graham Stoney may have lost his chance to talk to the Victorian Parliament. The upper house was in uproar today when the government used its numbers to postpone his historic address. And as Brian Schrader reports, he's unlikely to get another opportunity.
The cattleman spokesman arrived at Parliament House ready to give what he thought would be his historic speech. Graham Stoney had been invited by the opposition-dominated upper house to answer allegations that the Liberals had orchestrated the Mountain Cattlemen's campaign in the Nunawading by-election. But he didn't get the chance. Inside the House, government leader Evan Walker pulled off the gloves. He dropped the age-old pair system, which allows members to be absent without sacrificing their party's numbers. And the opposition desperately needed the pair system today. Liberal member Jock Granter was away at Puckapunyal with the Royal Tour. Graham Stoney survived the first challenge when President Rod Mackenzie voted with a coalition. But then the bombshell. The Herald, thinking that Stoney had already spoken, published his speech in the paper's first edition. The House was in uproar. Attorney General Jim Kennan described Stoney as a phantom mountain cattleman. Health Minister David White said Stoney had breached parliamentary privilege, and he successfully moved to postpone the debate to Tuesday week. Outside, Graham Stoney was bitterly disappointed.
It is time that we stood up for ourselves. We were just exercising our democratic right as citizens to protect our members and to answer the allegations, unfair allegations in Parliament.
While the Liberals held a crisis meeting, the Premier, Mr Kane, attacked the cattlemen's planned address.
It was an absurdity, it was a disgrace to all those who participated in it. And what the government has done is, I believe, given the opposition an opportunity to rethink this stupidity.
For the government, today's debate was a clear tactical victory. And for Graham Stoney, his chances of addressing the upper house Tuesday week are looking increasingly doubtful. Brian Schrader, Eyewitness News.